So what of this People magazine report? What did we learn?
Yeah, it's really interesting. They had two scoops this week. The first was that Brian Koberger had actually been to the restaurant where two of the victims work. Xana and Maddie both worked at Mad Greek Restaurant, which is in downtown Moscow, Idaho. And they reported that according to a former employee, Koberger had been there a couple of times. They were known to have a vegan entree on the menu, which is apparently the reason that he went there. And the other thing that they reported this week was that Koberger had messaged at least one of the victims on Instagram at one point, and that it went into an unread folder, but that is now part of the investigation.
So what was what do we know about how aggressively he may have attempted to contact any of these victims or be in touch with them?
Listen, I'm kind of weary when it comes to the Instagram accounts because right when I first got the name before it came out from police, Brian Koberger, we had a source in Pennsylvania, I immediately couldn't find any social media for him. And then when the name came out officially from the police, suddenly there were all of these social media accounts. Some of them were following the victims. So again, I'm kind of careful in that department because I know that people made up fake accounts. Yeah. But this People magazine report is interesting if he did indeed actually contact one of the victims. And, there's that unread folder, if it's someone who contacts you that you're not friends with. And according to People, it was in that folder. And it seems that the person that he contacted, one of the victims, may not have even known that he had tried to contact them.
So are we skeptical about all of this? We don't put much stock in the People magazine reporting about, forget the restaurant visit, but the social media attempts to somehow know them or be in their lives. Because with respect to People, I think it's one source that they're citing, one unnamed source. We don't know who, we don't know how reliable. And as you point out, we don't know whether they've done the investigation necessary to determine if these accounts were even real.
Yeah, truthfully, I'm a little skeptical, nothing against People. And I just don't know who their source is. And again, when it comes to the Instagram accounts, there were all sorts of Instagram accounts floating around. And then also, I'm a little less skeptical of the report about the Mad Greek Restaurant because, I was in Moscow for so long. That is one of the only places that has a legit vegan part of the menu. So it would make sense, he was a strict vegan, Brian Koberger. It would make sense that he probably would have gone there, whether that has to do with two of the victims having worked there. I mean, it's a small town, these victims were connected in all sorts of different ways. So I think it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. According to People, the investigators are aware of this, and this is part of the investigation behind the scenes.
Well, and again, this is the reporting on the Instagram account is per an investigator familiar with the case to People magazine. We don't know who. It's a single source. Investigator familiar with the case is very ambiguous. The sourcing on the suspect visited the restaurant where two of the victims worked is pretty clear. Former employee at the restaurant. So that's that I can understand a little bit better. Former employee at the Mad Greek restaurant in Moscow, Idaho, said the suspect came in at least twice to grab vegan pizza. Two of the victims, Maddie and Xana, were servers at the restaurant. Unclear if either woman ever waited on him or if they even interacted. But People says it has confirmed that authorities have collected surveillance video from the restaurant surrounding businesses. That's all confirmable by going to the restaurants and asking them. And this former employee telling People that there was nothing suspicious about him per se, but he stood out because he had a particular order, a strict vegan. He would check to make sure that his food had not come into any contact with animal products. So that's why they remembered him. We're all just trying to read the tea leaves to see why these victims, why them.
Yeah, and that makes sense because that goes back to what one of Koberger's aunts said, that when Koberger went to visit her with his dad, that he was very particular about the pots and pans that she used when she was cooking for him, his vegan meals, even wanting her to buy new pots and pans because her pots and pans had touched meat before. So that lines up. I can see why he would be memorable going into a restaurant, sort of asking those sort of things.
Yes, that plus, what may have been sort of an odd affect in general. That's the kind of stuff that makes you stand out as opposed to these beautiful college girls who are friendly and, what you might expect coming in. Let's talk about the search warrant. There's a lot in there. First, explain to the audience what we're talking about. Something was unveiled And what was it and why do we care?
Yeah, so we were out there. This was in Pullman, Washington, where Kohberger lived. His apartment was in Pullman, which is like 10 minutes from Moscow. We were there when they initially went there right after the arrest and started pulling stuff out of the house. And that's when the search was happening. But all of that was sealed by the court. So we didn't know exactly what was being taken out. I mean, we saw the bags and the boxes, but we didn't see what was inside. We saw a computer tower. And I assumed that they were going to keep it sealed for a while. It was a surprise to me when earlier this week, suddenly they unsealed the search warrant and listed the items. I'm just looking at it now. Is interesting. Several possible hairs that they were obviously testing for DNA and that kind of thing. A Fire Stick with a cord and plug, which is one of those things that you plug into your TV to like watch Netflix and search the internet. Several receipts, Walmart, Marshall's receipt, a black glove, a dust container from a vacuum, a computer tower, and then also a dark red spot. They don't use the term blood, but obviously we can, put the pieces together there. And then cuttings from an unused pillow, again, reddish brown stains. And then they also took some mattress covers that apparently had stains on them. Obviously, all of that got tested. It even says in the search warrant that they tested some of the items on site. But what those tests revealed, that's not included.
And the black glove is interesting. It's not a rubber glove. It's not a kind of glove that they use during COVID. It's a nitrate black glove, that's the kind that like nothing gets through. You can't you could stick your hand into something really sketchy like acid with one of those on.
Yeah, exactly. I interviewed a former FBI agent the other day who was, you've got a picture, that's great, who really zeroed in on that. Like she found that to be very interesting that kind of glove was found there, kind of a specialized glove. So yeah, certainly kind of raises some red flags.
Like many people, I am eating healthier, and that's why I love good olive oil. It makes such a big difference in your meals. And by good, I mean fresh. All right, olive oil packs the most flavor and the healthiest nutrients when it's fresh from the farm. And that is the problem with supermarket olive oils. They're not fresh. You ever think about it? How many months that thing's been sitting there growing stale? This is why I like my olive oil direct from small, award-winning farms, and you can have it thanks to a guy named TJ Robinson, also known as the olive oil hunter. When I first tasted TJ's farm fresh oils, I wasn't expecting. I'm like, is it really going to? It does make a difference. It does. They've got these beautiful, vibrant, grassy flavors. They're delicious on salad, veggies, pasta, meat, fish, whatever you put olive oil on. As an introduction to his fresh pressed olive oil club, TJ's willing to send you a full-size $39 bottle of one of the world's finest artisanal olive oils for just $1 itty-bitty to help him cover shipping. Best of all, there's never a commitment to buy anything, and you can cancel your membership at any time. Get your free $39 bottle for just $1 shipping and taste the difference freshness makes. Go to harvestfreshnow.com. That's harvestfreshnow.com for a free bottle and pay just $1 in shipping. harvestfreshnow.com. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.